when you are pushed against the wall, you don't have anything anymore. You have to find the way to survive. And for me, it was about, all right, how can I leverage what I got? So you got to be creative. You want to be involved, and you want to also change that mindset from, okay, what can I do for myself? But how can I start serving others? And that's when things started to really shift for me. It was more about, I need to be here to serve others.
Let's go.
Welcome back to This Magic Life. If our show had a poster child for how to create a truly magical life, then my next guest would be it. Alvaro Nunez is living what he calls the American Dream 2.0. He is a world traveler, a skydiver, a helicopter pilot, an Ironman athlete, a social media influencer with over 1 million followers on Instagram. He is also a public speaker, a best-selling author, and the founder of the Super Luxury Group, which sells high-end real estate all over the world. And he's only 30. But Alvaro's life hasn't always been an easy one. When he was 16 and a rising tennis champion in Spain, his father suffered a massive heart attack. The family lost everything. Alvaro's plan to keep playing world-class tennis was over. But today, Alvaro has written a new chapter in his life. Actually, it's a whole new book called Level Up, Turning Your Obstacles into Superpowers, which is exactly what he's done. Alvaro, welcome to This Magic Life.
Andrea, thank you so much for the super introduction and for the kind words. It's a pleasure to be here.
How do you feel about being the poster child for this magic life?
Well, I think it's a really interesting journey that led to where I am today. So, as you mentioned, it was a unique story, and I do believe that everybody has a unique story to tell. It's just a matter of how we want to become that hero of the journey and turn our obstacles into superpowers.
I have scrolled your Instagram, Alvaro, and I have to confess that it looks almost too good to be true. A post from September, you wrote, Venice Film Festival, Ironman World Championships, unique experiences in Istanbul, quality time with family back home, and other fantastic events. You believe in the ability to plan and design our own life.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I think that everything happens twice, first in your mind and then in reality. So a lot of people don't visualize the type of life that they want to live. And I think that we can always build something that fuels our passions. And in some cases, we are off balance by wanting to do one thing and forgetting all the other things. And that's one of the things that you learn over time. I was very obsessed on my career and in just one particular area of the wheel of life. And I realized that, hey, you can really excel and be extraordinary and level up in each area of the wheel of life, not just on your career, but on your relationships, on your health, on your spirituality. And I think that's wonderful. So out of today, I'm very proud to have designed a life that really keeps a rounded, balanced, and extraordinary life where you can keep on pushing yourself every day.
I love that you think jumping out of planes and flying helicopters is a rounded, balanced life, Alvaro.
Well, yes. The definition of balance, right? For some changes.
Yes, but I think this is about, and I'm not sure if I'm reading into it, but the law of attraction.
Correct.
And the law of attraction is different for each of us. What is it that we want in our lives? Can you talk about how you have attracted the life that you wanted, created the life that you wanted?
No, I love that, by the way. The law of attraction, manifestation, anything that you really want to get into your life, you have to put it out to the world. The more that you see it, the more that you're going to believe it, the more that you're going to make it happen. So I always like to get in the morning and have a clear understanding on what my vision is. So I read it, I listen to my voice talking about what my vision is. I have pictures, I have a movie, I have soundtracks, I have everything that connects a 360 full sense experience towards my vision. And that makes me be living that vision in a present tense. Now, when you do that, then your mind starts already adjusting. It's like the simple example of a yellow car. You probably don't notice yellow cars, but if you're thinking about a yellow car, you're going to see a lot of yellow cars. So the same thing happens with your vision. The moment that you start talking about it, thinking about it, writing about it, reading about it, the more that you're going to put into the world that synchronicity to make it happen. So that's one thing. And in order to keep that track, you need to have a strong why. It's about identifying your why on why you want to have that vision. And when it is strong enough and you remind yourself that every day, then you find the strength and the purpose to walk that path. And those two things combined are very powerful to really ignite the fire to walk towards this journey.
So what is your why right now? And if you had a vision board, what would be on it?
Well, the vision and your why changes over time, right? I think that if I look back at the 16-year-old kid that was playing tennis in Spain and all of a sudden came to the States, the vision was completely different to what it is today. And also my why. I mean, before it was just to find a way to build an education, a career, something of that nature. And now it's a completely different thing, right? So I can tell you a little bit of what my vision is. And I kind of shared it what it was when I was 28 years old in the book Level Up. But it's all about, very interesting, by the way, as you progress in life and you start accomplishing a lot of the things that you envisioned, you no longer focus so much on the things that matter to you personally. That could be material things, that could be experiences, but it starts to become more on things that are impactful for a society, for a people, a group in general. So I'm now at a stage where my vision is about how can I empower other like-minded people to make a bigger impact in the world? How can I support and help those that are in need of financial support or need inspiration or that need some sort of strength? So it's all about doing what I'm doing from a full cup so that I can serve others. And I can go in details on all these things, but I think that the overall picture, and this is just one thing that I'm trying to emphasize in here, is that sometimes your vision needs to be exciting to the degree that it pushes you to upgrade yourself. I'm always looking on how can I push myself to be a better version in each area of life. But because I believe that when you serve from a full cup, you're going to be able to give more than if you're just trying to give without having helped yourself first.
Yes. So the opposite of a scarcity mindset.
Abundance mindset, correct.
I want to dig more into how you've intentionally created and crafted the magic life that you're living right now and get into your book, Level Up, in just a minute. But first, Alvaro, what would you say has been the most unexpected, unpredictable, serendipitous, or magical experience that you've had so far in your life that changed the trajectory of your life?
Well, I think when I was 16 years old, as you mentioned, I was a good student. I was a good tennis player. That's all I did, right? Get good grades and play everyday tennis at big tournaments and trying to continue in that direction of becoming a professional tennis player. I was not thinking whatsoever of going to university and get a career in something else. I was always thinking about becoming a tennis player. And when it all happened, as you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, huge economical crisis, really bad encounter with the situation with my father, and we lost everything. So at that point, you have to adjust. And as a 16-year-old, you don't really know what you want in life beyond just maybe one thing, right? You don't have a full spectrum of what life is all about. So tennis, I knew that I wanted to still do something with it. So it was about finding tennis as leverage to open up a new chapter. And moving to the States with a tennis scholarship is what really opened all sorts of different opportunities, different mindset, new values, and eventually led to where I am today.
I think that was around the time then that you enrolled at Western New Mexico University. Is that right?
Yes, in Silver City, New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere.
And you studied business management and marketing. Do you remember why you picked that as your major?
Yes, it was just the most generic career I could pick. I thought that business in general was going to be something that will serve me well in life. Same thing with marketing, as you need to know how to market a product or market yourself. So I went on that direction first and then trying to see what I wanted to do next. But yeah, the truth is that I didn't speak any English at first. My parents put me to learn other languages when I was in Spain, and whether that was German or French or Portuguese, but nothing to do with English because they figured that I would learn English at some point, and that's why I ended up struggling a bit on the early stages in the States. But I went to a really humble school where they will give me that full scholarship because I could not afford like even a 10% of a tuition cost in a bigger university. So any scholarship I got from a big school that was like 80 or 90%, it was not enough. So I had to go with whatever they could give me the 100%. And that was Western New Mexico University. And a lot of things happen in between, right? But I think that when you asked me about that moment that transformed my life, where the magic started to really happen, is at that particular moment when I moved to the States to that small school, because coming from a big city like Madrid to having a very comfortable, affluent life, being able to do whatever I wanted to do in the sense of, okay, I'm going to school, I'm meeting with my friends, I'm playing tennis, life's good, we have our trips organized, and now all of a sudden I'm in the middle of nowhere having to deal with whatever I have to deal and not knowing the culture, not knowing the language, and really being by myself, right? So that's the moment where you realize that life begins on the other side of fear. And there's one thing that became a commonality denominator here, which is every time I have choices in life, I try to choose the one that I'm the most afraid of, because that's what leads
Oh,
to the biggest opportunities.
I just got chills when you said that because I'm imagining you as like a 18-year-old who didn't speak English at this big university thinking, "Oh my god, what do I do now?" But what you did, Alvaro, oh my god. I mean, you joined every club. You became a leader in every club that you joined. How did you do that? How did you push yourself to grow like that?
Well, I think that there was a moment in between that didn't seem as bright, right? So it was not always about how can I proactively be involved in all these different communities, clubs, and associations. It was more about what can I do for myself? And it was a very selfish thought process. And that didn't lead me anywhere. I ended up breaking my foot. I ended up losing my scholarship. And from supposedly being the captain of the tennis team and leading us to win championships, I was not even able to play. So the coaches had to take my scholarship away because who could be saying that a guy that has a 100% scholarship cannot even play? So they would rather use that money to recruit other tennis players, right? So that was a really big awakening call. And I said, all right, do I really now go back to comfort zone? So I fly back to Spain, be with my family, or I really fight for my dreams on why am I here in the States? And instead of going to the comfort zone again, the choices that you have determine who you become. And the choices I made were the ones that were the most afraid of, which is staying in the States. And you have to be creative, right? When you are pushed against the wall, you don't have anything anymore. You have to find the way to survive. And for me, it was about, all right, how can I leverage what I got? What do I have? Tennis? All right, can I teach some tennis? All right, well, I'm in crutches, so I cannot really do much. What jobs are available on campus? So I went on and I said, all right, let's see what jobs are available. And the only job available was the maintenance department. I said, all right, I'll take it. I'll start doing whatever it takes in the maintenance department. And then I went on to all these clubs and associations. And I said, all right, how can I get myself involved? How can I get active in other areas? How can I become also the best student and start applying for student and just academic scholarships rather than athletic? So you got to be creative. You want to be involved, and you want to also change that mindset from, okay, what can I do for myself, but how can I start serving others? And that's when things started to really shift for me. It was more about how can I give, and then I can ask, but first I need to be here to serve others. And that really is something that resonated at the time, and I've been carrying on ever since throughout the entire life. And look, we're just talking right now the early stages on the life, but then it kind of evolved pretty rapidly to crazy directions that I didn't even imagine back then.
Exactly. And I want to talk about that because after you graduated, you went to work for a company called Public Reputation and you were a digital marketing manager. And I think shortly thereafter, did you lose your visa status? Is that what happened?
So I went on after I graduated from Western New Mexico University. I worked at the marketing department. They gave me a position there with a 1 year OPT, which is a visa for a year to work after you graduate from school. I ended up graduating with honors, valedictorian, and kind of like made the best out of the the experience
Amazing.
there. But then I went on after. I said, all right, I want to move to Miami. Your vision changes. You start looking up the bigger picture. So I moved into South Florida and I ended up going to Boca Raton. That's where I did my master's. I got a graduate assistant position in the marketing department of the university, got my master's, I did an MBA. And as soon as I finished, I was already working for this company called Public Reputation, which was a startup company in marketing. And because that's the background of what I was doing, it kind of aligned pretty well to get this position, the digital marketing manager. And as I was there, again, same situation. I graduated from my master's, so I had 1 year to prove that I was very important for the company to be sponsored. And that's how I tried to, in the short amount of time that I was doing this OPT, to try to get myself a strong position in the company. So after a couple months in the company, I already was talking at the early stages with the owner of the company on how I could become the director of operations. I was trying to leverage whatever I could, and I ended up standing out from the other digital marketing managers, and I ended up getting that position 2 months after. I became director of operations, was leading a really big team and making good money. Everything was accordingly to what I thought the American dream will be. And when I asked for the work visa application to be able to stay longer, they accepted it. Everything was good. And it was just a few months after we started the application process that my lawyer, immigration lawyer, called in and said, look, I have bad news, but you didn't pass the lottery, because there's so many people that apply for these work visas in the country that only 50% get to pass that lottery to be reviewed, their cases. And I didn't even pass the first cut. It was just an unlucky situation. So she told me we can try next year, but for now, there's nothing we can do. So the owner of the company said, look, unfortunately, we need somebody on the ground that runs the operations. And if you cannot get the visa, then we'll have to let you go. And I ended up having to leave the company and therefore leave the country from one day to the other and kind of figure out my next steps.
And that's when you moved to the Dominican Republic, to Punta Cana. Did you have high hopes when you got there, thinking, oh, this is going to lead me to wealth and success in my career?
It's an interesting question, because that was a wake-up call for me, right? When all of a sudden I lost the job, the visa, having to leave the country. I've already built a life there. I was already well established. I was making six figures at 22, 23 years old. I was really having all the things I ever dreamt of, and yet I was unfulfilled. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was just focusing so much on my career and making money that I forgot about everything else. So it was really an opportunity for me to reframe that wheel of life that we talked at the beginning, and understand that there were more things in life that mattered to me that I was not even paying attention on. So instead of
Like
going,
what?
well, I mean, relationships, I had a 4 year relationship that ended up dying because I did not put any attention on it anymore. My family back home, I was barely in touch with them because I was just so focused on work. My health was average because I was not really like fully taking care of myself. So there was a lot of different aspects that were completely out of whack. And that was because I was just focusing on the job and the career, because I was trying to do everything it took to stay in the country and get that work visa, right? And through that process, I forgot about everything else. And then I didn't get the visa anyways. So that was just a quick wake up call that made me realize that, all right, well, I'm in a position right now where, again, I could go to Spain, back to the comfort zone. 99% of the people were saying, hey, come back to Spain. You have an amazing resume. You've done incredible things in the States. You're going to have no problem finding a job and getting a job in Spain. And that was the actual answer that came to my head, is like, okay, I'm going to have no problems. I'm going to have an easy path to get a job. that's not what I want because that's not going to give me the results I want. I need something that actually challenges me. But at first, I want to have control on that because I was no longer going to put myself in a position where somebody was going to determine my future. And it was right in that moment where I realized, all right, let me start dreaming big again. Let me start being more curious. Let me start putting the life and visualize the life that I want. And how can I build a vehicle that will allow me to live that lifestyle? So that's one of the key ingredients here. It's about visualize the type of lifestyle that you want to have and build a vehicle that will allow you to live that. And that was exactly what happened. I ended up dreaming about, all right, what's my dream lifestyle? I love things that I'm passionate about. What am I passionate about? Well, I love traveling. I love luxury homes. I love connecting with people. I love experiences. How can I put all that together? And as I said earlier on, and you mentioned it very nicely, the law of attraction. As you start manifesting these things, an opportunity came up. My mother moved to the DR, and when she was there, she was starting to do real estate because things in Spain were not going very well. So her and my father moved to the DR, and my mom started to do real estate there. She sold a property to a person that said that didn't want to be in the house for more than twice a year, and that if she could help, rent it short term. And the whole Airbnb and all these short-term rentals was not really a thing in the DR at the time. It was just a all-inclusive resort destination. Nobody was really renting villas. But my mother said, look, you're the marketing guy. You're talking about all these things that you want to do. Why don't you come and check it out? So you asked me if I was excited about going to the DR or if I thought it was going to be the success that I was envisioning. And the truth is that I was really excited. I was afraid a bit, but I was excited because I was, for the first time in my life, taking full control on the direction that I wanted to go. And if I was going to go down, it was going to be by doing something that I was at least passionate about. So I went on to the DR, and that was a different chapter right there.
Were you tuning into your intuition, Alvaro? Because I know that from having listened to an interview that you gave on another show, that you got the idea to start door knocking on some of these villas. What was it? Was it a hunch? Was it a tip that someone gave you? Or was it just like a little voice in your head that said, Alvaro, get out there and just start knocking on the door of these villas?
It was one of those things that you have to listen to your intuition sometimes, right? And it was just a matter of finding the way, no matter what, to get the job done. So first of all, I did the research on what other properties were for rent in the market, and there were not really that many properties that were standing out. So I was, all right, well, there's an opportunity in here. Let me at least figure out what the best properties in the island are currently doing. Is there people staying there? But I can definitely do something about that because as I was start door knocking, because there is not like in the States an MLS or sites where you can find all these properties over there, that doesn't exist. So I started to go one by one and start door knocking and see what was the deal. And then nobody was there, or the housekeeper was there, or maybe an owner randomly was opening the door. And it was just a matter of knowing your unique selling proposition. And in my case, it was how can I help you monetize your place? Because the truth is that most of the homes that were empty, they were beachfront properties, beautiful homes, and nobody was living there. And when I talked to the housekeeper, they said, look, they are back home, whether it's in Canada, Europe, or somewhere that they might just only come for the season. And I said, well, could I speak with them? Because I have a proposal on how I can help them make some money. I have somebody interested in potentially renting the place. And that's how it started. And then it became a very lucrative business that expanded over time beyond just the Dominican Republic. And it was very fun.
I read an interview that you gave in which you said, everyone is going to tell you their opinion, whether you want to hear it or not. The only opinion that matters, the only sound that matters is your inner voice. You got to live for yourself. How have you managed to block out the noise, to block out the naysayers, to block out all those people who want to give you their opinion, Alvaro?
I think it's a great point that you're mentioning here. And it happens over time. A lot of times we are not as confident on our own voice to let that be the one determining what we do. So we let the external voices take control. And that happens a lot when you have big goals. You put a big goal out to the world, and everybody's gonna say, "Oh, you crazy! What a stupid idea! Oh, why?" And one thing that I realize is that there is a real beauty on doing things that people think you're crazy about or that they think is a bad idea. And that's just something that happened over time. I didn't have this personality of wanting to do what people thought it was wrong or bad or crazy. I just had a little intuition and I didn't share my goals at first. But then I did them anyways, and it gave me confidence. So now I have this formula in my head where it's not that I block the noise, but because I'm doing things that people told me so many times that it was impossible, and now I'm doing them, that people now are actually, rooting on wanting to see what's next. So it's more about the journey on how you do the things that you want to do. And there's a magic formula that at least has worked a lot for me, which is I put a big goal out to the world and I have another big goal that I don't share with anybody. So that's one of the things, that one big goal I do for myself, one big goal I still do for myself, but I put it out to the world. And there's going to be always people questioning what you want to do. There's going to be people questioning whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing. There are going to be people that live in a very comfort zone that are going to try to put you down because you're doing more than them, makes them feel bad. So rather than letting those voices hunt you down, you need to start changing your environment. And sometimes it's not even the people, what they say and how you block it. Sometimes it's just noise that you don't even have to deal with, like the news. Like you just think that there's a huge economical crisis, that there is this happening, that is that, and then because all these things that you see, then you don't want to take action, right? So I think that it all starts by taking care of yourself. Understand what your thought process is right now. Then look at your home. What do you have in your home? Do you have an environment that is healthy? And by that I mean, do you have all the elements that help you think clear, think positive, move forward, have momentum? Are you getting rid of all the negative things around it? And then you start looking at outside of your home. What about your family, your environment, your community? And you are going to have to make tough decisions. You're going to have to make decisions of cutting up some people from your life, cutting up certain things. But that's the best way to cut the noise and really just focus on moving in the right direction. Now I'm very grateful to have in my life people that dream bigger than me, that are doing things that are extraordinary. So when I'm just surrounded or looking at these people, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it gives me the strength and the power to even do more.
Which is saying a lot, because this man has run what is known as the toughest foot race in the world. The Marathon des Sables, which is 6 marathons over the course of 6 days. So the idea that these people are helping you to dream even bigger, Alvaro, is mind-blowing. So you kind of glossed over the how you went from door knocking in the DR to suddenly having this very successful business. Can you fill in a few of the gaps about how you went from renting out these luxury properties to connecting with these jet setters to actually going with these jet setters and getting to experience their life, which gave you the insights that have helped you in your current business?
Yes, absolutely. It was a process, right? Nobody wakes up one day and has a lineup of wealthy people wanting to rent all the properties you have. It doesn't work like that. So you gotta be first a bit innovative and disruptive, especially if you're starting off, if you want to accelerate the process. Everything is gonna take time, but you can accelerate it if you think creatively. So for me, it was more about identifying, and I always talk about this term, OPAs, other people audiences. Where is the people I want to work with? Who do they work with already? Where are they? Where can I tap into these people? So when I had this portfolio of beautiful homes, now I had to rent them out. And rather than trying to go the traditional route, which you still want to try, right? Okay, put it on social media, do some ads, start to place it on these OTA pages, whether it's the Airbnb, it's HomeAway, Expedia, like, okay, that's fine. But how can you do a direct approach to the companies that are already working with these people? So that's what I did. I did some research on, all right, where is Will Smith, Tom Cruise, Bill Gates, all these big celebrities going when they need to rent a luxury villa? Do they go on Airbnb? I doubt it. So when doing that research, you identify that these big companies are the ones that take care of that. Now, when you identify that, then you need to find what is the one thing that I can do to partner up with these people. And the magic thing that happened there is that they did not have any properties in their portfolio in the DR. So that was the aha moment. It's like, all right, let me present them these properties that really fit the quality and the criteria of the homes that they offer. I will just be a local partner for them. So I will make sure I take care of all the clients they send, and we'll split the percentages, right? And that's how it started. So we started to receive some big clients coming into some beautiful properties. Then I got a little taste of what it is to deal with this type of clientele, what their expectations are, what type of experiences are they asking for, and how I can, as a company, operate at that level. Now, what happens there is that these individuals, once they're done renting the property, they move on and they no longer talk to you, or that's it. They keep talking to the bigger company. So eventually I wanted to take that leap of faith and say, all right, it's time for me to actually try to become this bigger company. And that's how I started to take a few months to travel and meet local companies that were doing the same thing that we were doing in the Dominican Republic, but in other jet set destinations. Because if there's one thing in common that all these people have, is that they travel to similar destinations, whether it's Mykonos, Ibiza, south of France. And I said, all right, let's meet those local companies. And we established those relationships to build an international portfolio. And that's when things got interested, because that's when you had to figure out how to start generating leads directly. And that's another chapter.
Alvaro, what was the tipping point for you with the villa business that really got you to the point where you said, oh, it's all about the influencers?
Well, yeah, look, it's all about being creative, right? Because you gotta take that leap of faith on going in the direction that you envision that everything that you want in life is going to happen. And for me, I knew that I could not stay just in the DR, because that's not the life I wanted to build. I didn't want to stay there. I didn't want to live there. I didn't want to just build my life there. I knew it was going to be more than that. And that's when we started to expand internationally. But now you have the fear of, all right, what if I don't get any leads? How am I going to even build this business around if I don't know really that many people? And you can turn that fear into excitement, right? Because the matter of the words is so important. And I always think that whatever you say matter. So I started to look at excitement and opportunities rather than fear and obstacles. And that was when I said, all right, how can we start getting people to rent our properties? Well, same concept. Instead of looking at who these big celebrities and people that we want to target are working with, let's see who they follow on social media. And back in the day, the word influencer didn't even exist. It was public figures, and it was very easy to reach directly to people. It was not so clustered with so many people on Instagram and scams and the verifications and all this crazy stuff. It was much easier to cut through the noise and reach people directly with a good proposal. So what we did is we looked at all the people that were being followed by these big celebrities that we wanted to target, and those that had a public figure status. By that I mean that they work out of their personal brand. We invited them to stay at the properties we had for rent for free, 4 days, 5 days, because look, the properties were not occupied 100% of the time. It was an occupancy rate of 60%. So on those downturns, we will be able to get them to stay at the property. We had to create content anyways. We had to do these marketing campaigns anyways. So may as well have them stay at the property, create content for us, post it, and they will stay in exchange. And that's how it started. It became very lucrative because now all of a sudden we're getting this massive exposure. We're building relationships with very unique people. We're reaching our ultimate clientele. And not only that, but we're starting to leverage that to other things. So we started to build partnerships with other luxury brands, private jets, yachts, luxury cars, beverages, chefs, you name it, right? And that's when you start realizing that you're tapping into more opportunities because the same people that rent a yacht or from these companies are the same people that might also rent a villa. So you start building relationships, you start building opportunities, and that's how it took off. We started to invite media partners, whether it was for magazines, TV, so they started to document the whole thing. It became very fun, very lucrative, very successful. We expanded rapidly, and like everything in life, nothing is too good to be true, right? Like all of a sudden, COVID happened, and we had to reshape the way that we did things. But again, as we discussed earlier on, it is on those difficult moments where you grow, and that's where we actually grew when COVID happened.
Oh, that's beautiful. I don't remember when you went back to Madrid
Yeah.
and had that beautiful exchange with your grandfather
Mm. Yes,
in
that's
which he handed you that napkin.
well.
And I would love for
You did
you
the
to share
research.
that
You did the
story.
research on me, huh? You did the
I
research on
try,
me.
Alvaro. But it was so beautiful because it's how you got the name of your current company. Can you share that, please? Because I feel like that also, you want to talk about speaking your dreams into existence. That's what your grandfather helped you do.
That was a very powerful encounter, I'll tell you that. And I appreciate you doing the research, and I appreciate you bringing it up because it is definitely a very, very emotional and very beautiful moment in my life because, as you mentioned, it was right during COVID. I did not want to keep the company in the DR because, as an international entity, we had to be in an international hub. And I always had this feeling of wanting to go back to the States, but in this case for good. So I had to find a way, and I really had a strong feeling. We're talking about intuition on how I could get back into the States with this company. And I remember going into Madrid and talking to my grandfather and telling him about my vision and everything that we were building. And he grabbed a napkin and wrote the words Super Luxury Group, and exactly as it looks on the logo. And he said, "This is your future. I believe in you. I love your vision. Now go and get it." He gave me the napkin with the name of the company, and I booked a flight. I went straight to the States. I opened the business. I started the whole entity. I started to apply for the investor visa. And yeah, it was one of those beautiful moments where it had a big impact. But as soon as I called him back to tell him, "Hey, everything is in motion," I found out that he passed away. So it was the last time I spoke with him.
But your grandfather, in addition to being obviously an important man in your life, wasn't just some guy who had an idea. Your grandfather actually was an amazing marketer himself.
Yes, yes. And it was not my biological grandfather. It was the person that was married to my grandmother, and I've known him since I was a kid. So for me, it was a grandfather figure, and he was one of those individuals that I respected a lot because of everything he's done in his life. He also had that American dream, and as an Italian, came to the States as an actor, and then became an entrepreneur, and became a huge marketer that did consulting for some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies, and really had a huge impact in the trajectory of these businesses. So every time I looked into somebody that was successful at what they do, I always looked up to him. So for him to give me this name, it meant the world. And that's what we're here today, keep on building super luxury.
Before I ask you about that, I do want to speak with you about this whole mindset that you have and that you have presented in your fabulous book, Level Up. And that is the way that you view obstacles and actually look forward to and try to seek them out, especially in the physical realm,
Yeah.
but also obviously in the professional realm, and how obstacles can become superpowers. Why do you believe that, Alvaro?
You can always use pain as fuel to supercharge whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And a lot of people that come to you and they complain about, oh, I had a flat tire, or oh, the food got burned, or oh, the food is cold, or oh, they canceled my meeting. I always say to everybody, you need bigger problems. You need bigger problems. I mean, what kind of problems are those, right? Like, I want to complain about real difficult problems, and everything evolves with life. Like, if you're really trying to evolve and grow and level up, you need to seek for bigger problems. And a lot of people don't have that in mind. So every time that I'm having a problem, I reframe it and I see it as an opportunity for growth. And that's how I always say that you can turn your obstacles into superpowers. And we had some of these examples throughout the conversation where some of those obstacles, whether it was having a huge economical crisis and the father having a heart attack and all these things, and then having to go to the States, that was a superpower. Same thing happened with the visa situation. Okay, not having the visa, that obstacle became a superpower to really redefine the life and really start building something that I was passionate about. COVID became also something that you can turn as a superpower to redefine the way that you're doing business and how you can position yourself on the market. And I always see that anything that you go through life can be perceived as an obstacle or as an opportunity. And we haven't touched on some of those examples, but the reason that I got into ultra endurance events and started to write a book and started to do all these different things is also because of obstacles that I was facing. It was not that I just woke up one day and it happened that way. No, it was that I faced difficulties and I used that as fuel to supercharge and to even dream bigger. And that was one of the things that I always encourage everybody. When you have that pain inside, that's a great opportunity to dream even bigger, because you're going to have something that you're going to use as fuel. And a lot of people, sometimes they need that. They don't need the motivation and the beauty, and sometimes they need that pain. But if you control that pain, you're able to do something even bigger. So let yourself go through whatever you're going, but channel it. Channel it towards something bigger.
I love that. Is that sort of the essence of a misogi?
Ah, you like that Japanese term. I love it, by the way. So it's basically a Japanese term for doing something that you're afraid of doing, but it's going to have a huge impact in your life for that year. And I always like to look at the misogis that you can apply for yourself. And you mentioned briefly about the Marathon des Sables, right? That was the toughest foot race in the world for a reason. It's 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert, carrying all your food and supplies. That was one of the misogis that I had last year. And I know that when you commit to that misogi, it's going to have a huge impact in the way that you do things in life. And that is true to any type of misogi. So I always have a big respect for anybody that wants to go out there and complete their misogi. And again, it doesn't need to be doing this race. Is whatever version of a misogi it is for you. So I always encourage everybody to have those big goals, things that you know is going to have a huge impact in your life.
How did completing the Marathon des Sables impact your life? What effect did it have on you beyond the obvious, like you are the ultimate badass?
I think it goes beyond just feeling like, oh, I'm a badass. It goes beyond that, because when you do a challenge of this magnitude, you want to have a bigger purpose. So I was not doing this challenge just for the sake of, oh, I want to finish this race and be now labeled as a badass. No, it was not my goal, neither the purpose. Because if that's the purpose, you're going to give up in between. There's going to be a lot of different reasons why that goal is not as strong than the obstacles that you're going to encounter. So for me, I tried to look into what's my why for this. And it was the weight of depression. It was to bring awareness for all those people that were suffering with mental health issues, with depression. And this happened because I had some family members and friends in my circle that were suffering with depression in silence, and to the point where they committed suicide. So I know that there is still a lot of people out there suffering in silence, and they're going through depression. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity to raise awareness, to have them speak up. And that's why I came up with this campaign called The Weight of Depression, so that people will share their stories, and I will carry those stories with me in an actual plate that I was carrying on the back of my backpack, and carrying this weight so that at the end of the race, I will bury it in the sand and leave all those struggles behind.
Beautiful. And I was in Miami when you spoke at a big conference, which is how you and I met.
That's right.
And I got to see the video and the photographs of your feet, Alvaro, which were raw from the blisters from running in the desert with the weight of all of your food and supplies on your back. And the fact that you shared that, I think it was after the first day, the second day, you were like, how am I going to be able to do this? And you just focused on, first, I'm just going to get up. I'm just going to stand up. It was like one thing.
Yeah.
And stop me if I'm wrong, but then what really blew my mind was, I think, the last couple of days, you were like, oh my God, this is not that bad.
No, you're right. I mean, not that I would say it was not that bad, because I definitely didn't feel like that, but
Okay.
your mind starts evolving. And this is one of the powerful things about momentum. When you are having that mojo, a lot of people call it, right? I think that you become unstoppable. And for me, it was one of those moments where I started feeling that momentum, because I went from, on the second day, wanting to give up, peeing blood because of kidney failure, bleeding on my shoulders, my back, destroyed feet, cramping everywhere, dehydrated. I said, all right, why am I even here? Why am I putting myself into so much pain? And as I was taking the backpack down to call the helicopter and just quit, I saw that weight that I was carrying, and that reminded me, this is my why. So I had again reconnected with the strong why, and that made me lock in the mind to know that no matter what, I'm going to find a way, because the why was so strong. And I kept going, and as I kept going, I started to unlock new ways of thinking. And the truth in here is that your body is not getting better. It's not that I was feeling better, but my mind was getting stronger. And that's one of the things that keeps you unlocking new ways of doing things in life. So whether it's in your career, whether it's in your relationships, it's all about having that strong why that will make you move mountains to reach the end goal.
What advice do you have for parents of college students, high school, or even young adults who are afraid that their child is going to make mistakes, is going to suffer, and they want to guide them in their careers? They may also feel that they know better than their child because they have more experience.
I'm going to just speak from my experience as a child, having an incredible mother that fully supported me in all the crazy dreams. And that's how I could envision on how I would like to be as a parent, because I've been in an environment where I had other people in my life, whether that was family members or friends, that were always questioning what I wanted to do, always said what they thought it was best. And my mother was probably one of the only people in my life that, no matter her opinion, she always was going to have an opinion. Even up to this point, she still hates when I get on the plane and jump on the side of it, or take the helicopter, or do all these crazy things, because she's a mother. She worries, right? She cares about, and she's always questioning certain things. But at the end of the day, she always gives me the full support. So as a parent, I think that it's important to understand, listening to what your child is saying or wants to say, give them a voice, then share your opinion in a respectful way. Don't try to impose what you think is right or wrong. Just give your opinion. Try to have a conversation rather than an argument, and still support your kid, because that's, at the end of the day, what's going to give the power for that person to do whatever they're dreaming on. And that's kind of my case. I always felt that I had that support from her. So no matter how many times I will go down, I know that I can still get up, and I know that there is a person in the corner, in this case my mother, that will lift me up. even though she was not agreeing with what I did, or even though she thought it was a bad idea, but she will be there.
Oh, that's beautiful. I just have two final questions to ask you, questions that I try to ask all my guests, Alvaro. The first one is, what can our viewers and listeners do right now to become more magical, to level up even more, to experience more serendipity in their life?
Let yourself dream big again. Let yourself really go loose. Like sometimes we live in this cage and we just do things like ta 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 ta. Open your mind, get out of the box, start dreaming big, go for a long walk, do whatever it takes to just reconnect with you, reconnect with yourself. Let the noise get out. And that's the moment where you will reconnect with exactly what you want to do. And once you do that, take action right away. Don't wait for next week, next month, next year. See what can you do today to start building that momentum that we talked about. So dream big, lock it up with a strong why, and take action today.
And when you say reconnecting with yourself, do you mean listen to your intuition?
That's one of the ways to see it.
Looking back on your incredible career journey so far, what do you think has been the secret to the magic that you've attracted and experienced so far in your life, Alvaro?
To always choose what's hard.
And then do it.
And then do it, of course. You don't choose something just for the sake of choosing. You gotta take action. But I'm gonna realign on that answer, because I do believe that you can make anything happen in multiple different ways, right? And the reality is that we all love comfort. And when I look at the pivotal moments in my life, when I look exactly at the moments that redefined the trajectory of my career or my life and the things that I've accomplished, it was when I chose to do something I was uncomfortable with. It was when I chose to do something that I was afraid of doing. And that's why I say that if I need to look back into why or how I was able to reach certain level of success in certain areas, it was because of that same mindset. Is how can I choose to do what's uncomfortable and take action?
Alvaro's wonderful book is called Level Up, Turning Your Obstacles into Superpowers. There it is. And now you know why. There is a link to it in show notes. Alvaro, where can our viewers and listeners find you outside of Level Up?
Well, you can get the book on the link that you're going to put on there, or on Amazon, Level Up, Turning Your Obstacles into Superpowers. Or if you want to connect with me directly or see a little bit of the adventures that are happening, you can check them out on my social media. You can find me on Instagram, Alvaro Nunez. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun things going on in there. So you don't want to miss it out.
I promise you are going to be amazed. Alvaro, I want to thank you so much for making time to come on This Magic Life. And I want to wish you many, many, many more magical moments to come.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I appreciate you.
Let's go.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of This Magic Life. Our mission is to inspire you to stop fearing your future and start getting excited about all the serendipitous and magical opportunities that await you. Make sure to subscribe to This Magic Life on YouTube so you don't miss any new episodes. And for on-the-go listening, give us a follow wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. We absolutely love to get feedback from the This Magic Life community, so make sure to drop us a comment on YouTube or a 5-star review on Apple. And you can always find me on LinkedIn at Andrea Koppel, aka the Career Magic Maker. I can't wait to see you soon.